Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Hey world, it's Justin, and this is Anywhere the Needle Drops. I am your host. You know the show. We are featuring all things music, art, and culture in the Michiana region and beyond. And today we have a great guest. It is Kelly Hoppenjans. Kelly is a great singer-songwriter. She's from Nashville, but she moved to Michigan. That's right, we stole one. Points to Michigan. They keep on taking our great artists and they keep on heading down there and hanging out, even though we still claim all those folks as our Michigan artists. But now Kelly, she came from Nashville. She's went right here in Michigan. We're claiming her as our own. And it's so great to do so because she's fantastic. She is an excellent songwriter. A lot of great humor and real emotions all kind of intermixed in this wonderful little stew that she makes. It's really great. Had the opportunity to see her live at the Acorn Theater a while back when she opened up for the Early. And for this episode, she was in town. This was recorded a while back. She was swinging through to the Acorn yet again to host their open mic night. And we chatted here at the Red Chuck Studio about all things songwriting, gushed over the Acorn, all sorts of fun stuff. And speaking of the Acorn, she will be returning there in July 21st. You can check her out live doing her own full show. It's going to be a fun time. So definitely mark your calendars for that. And of course, hop on the show notes, check out Kelly's website, social media, buy some music, buy some merch, give artists your money. You know the rule. Before we get into the interview, I want you to check out this tune from Kelly. It's called Love of My Life. After that, there's the interview. We'll see you soon. Enjoy.
He had the right idea, just turned out badly. But I'm trying, oh I'm trying. 'Cause I'm never gonna meet the love of my life in my living room. But I'm not gonna let that stop me from trying. No better bottle of wine, waste the
All right. Well, welcome to the show. I'm sitting here with Kelly Hoppenjans here, and so you're getting ready for this Acorn show tonight, and this will be, of course, after that show airs. But just tell me a little bit about what you have planned in store for us tonight.
Well, tonight is a open mic night, singer-songwriter night, and I'm the featured artist. So I'll do a few songs at the beginning and then a few songs at the end, and lead everybody in a little sing-along of 8 days a week. Which will be really fun.
Nice.
So the theme is love, because we're recording this, a few days before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's the season of love, Yeah.
Exactly. So I got lots of love songs planned for tonight. I write a lot about love, so
Yeah.
I've got several songs that I think are going to be cool and fun and fit the theme, and I'm excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me when I saw you play. I think it was you opened for the Early, right, during the album
that's
release
right.
show. Yeah, I loved your way of, your songs they're funny, but they're also very much touching on emotions that we can all relate to. And it's not funny music, but at the same time it is sort of a music way to handle some things in life, So is that an element in most of your songwriting, or depends on the subject? Or
I'd say it's something I gravitate towards a lot. I really like humor as a way of approaching things like love, and I write a lot too about experiences of moving through the world as a woman, and the difficulties that can sometimes bring about. I think I like to approach those with a lot of humor and with a lot of kind of satire sometimes, because
Sure.
I think it's a fun lens and maybe a coping mechanism through which we sometimes, approach these things. So yeah, it's a common theme, I would say, in a lot of my music.
yeah, I remember after I saw you play, I dug into some of your catalog a little bit, and there were songs, a lot of your stuff, but I think also you did some collaborations, and, there was some stuff on there that was all very, relevant to, feminism and just, again, like things in the world that can be challenging. But again, none of it was, some of those things can, feel kind of dark, especially with the state of the world. But it was nice to be able to see them tackled in a way that was a little uplifting and not only, hopeful, but also just sort of like, don't let the bastard get you down kind of a thing. We're gonna enjoy life regardless. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's really cool too. A goal of my music, I think, is often to be empowering to young people. I'm also a teacher.
Oh, nice.
So I think a lot about working with young people and trying to empower them. But in particular, I'm thinking about young women, and it's so cool sometimes after a show where I'll have young women come up to me and say, this, I relate so much to this song. This really, this is something I've experienced. This is something that it was so cool to hear somebody else sing about and tell
Sure.
this story. And that is so rewarding when I hear that. And I'm hopeful that the music then is kind of empowering to them, that there's community in that. You're not alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So do you teach music, or is your teaching in other areas? Or?
I do. I'm right now in the third year of getting my PhD in musicology. Okay. Which is just the fancy word for studying music as a part of history or a part of culture. Okay. So I also have had 10 years, I guess, experience as a voice teacher. So I teach private voice lessons, and am studying to be a professor, where I'm going to hopefully teach a combo of voice lessons and voice classes and choirs and things like that, but also things like music history and popular music and culture, things like that.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So you're doing it both. You're doing the you're making music, but you're also teaching about it. That's great. That's very cool. So is that why you ended up in Michigan? Because you came from elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was living in Nashville for about 8 years before I came up here.
Okay. I love that reversal, because we lose so many Michigan artists to Nashville. And so I like to be like, we stole one of yours now, Nashville. So
yeah, I'm up here now. I was there for about 8 years. I decided to go back to school during the pandemic. I think it was fall of 2020 that I was
Nice.
like, yeah, I'm going back to school. I gotta make
Yeah.
a change.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's what led me here. I'm studying at the University of Michigan, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's been really cool so far.
So prior to choosing to go to school, were you just doing music, or were you doing other things?
I was
or?
teaching too. I was
Okay.
doing a combo of, my solo project, my singer-songwriter stuff, and teaching. I taught at Belmont University down there.
Nice.
And also at Vol State Community College. And also, I did all sorts,
Yeah.
We wear a lot of hats. I directed the musical at a local elementary school and, things like that.
That's awesome. Well, I do like to have it both ways. So as we have lost artists to Nashville, I still claim them as Michigan artists. So I don't know if you know Lindsay Lou, and she's like a bluegrass artist that came from Michigan and, now resides in Nashville. She hangs out with Billy Strings and the likes.
Oh,
and,
cool.
I think also, though, now that you've been here a few years, we can call you a Michigan artist. And so, welcome.
so.
You're one of us now. So,
Yay.
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah. How did you find your way into playing? Well, not just playing music, but how did you find your way into music for a living?
Oh, gosh. I think for me, I don't think that it was ever going to be anything else, really.
Yeah.
I think in high school, by then it had become clear that music was my passion. Like I started taking guitar lessons and playing guitar when I was about 10 or 12 or so. And it really was just that I looked up to musicians like Jewel and Joni Mitchell, these women who played guitar and were, just like awesome songwriters. And
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to be cool like them. That's like why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
There was nobody else in my family who was like musical or anything like that. That's just kind of what drew me to it. And it just became a real passion. I loved it. I've always loved to sing. And, when you're in high school and thinking about what you want to do with your life, there were a lot of directions I think I could have gone. But I think it was just never a question for me that music needed to be a part of my life.
So how did the family, the parents feel about that? Because that could be a tough thing to hear from your child. Hey, I'm going to be a musician for a living. Like there could be some concerns there,
From your like straight A student, because
Yeah.
I've always been a nerd. You
Oh,
know?
really? Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, and my parents are both computer programmers, and that's where they kind of cut their teeth in their jobs, and so very smart, both of them. But they've always been so supportive. They've never given me any reason to think this is not like the career path you should take, or this is not a viable thing, or you need a plan B or something like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
They've always been super supportive and trusting, I think, that I would find a way to make this my life. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. I think there is a bit of a generational thing. I'm probably a little older than you. I'm not quite sure where you fall in the generations, but we have both in our lifetimes witnessed a lot of things not working out the way they were supposed to. We lived through a couple of recessions, and we've seen people who have lived their lives doing the day job, that still not worked out for them because of various things going on in the world. And I think there is this new attitude of, I'm going to do the thing I love, and we'll see what happens, because the other thing wasn't kind of working out anyway. And I think it's kind of beautiful to see people getting into things that really make them passionate,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Gen Z, this generation coming up, is maybe the most I've ever seen that's kind of had that attitude and grown up thinking that way, which is so cool to see. I graduated from college in 2011.
Okay.
So got into college kind of right when that recession
Sure.
hit, and it was just like, well, we better do what we love, because
Yep.
because nothing's for sure, you know, like nothing's forever, and we just gotta find things that we love to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Life's too short, Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like you mentioned Gen Z, they've seen a lot of that mess, in their lifetime. And then I do a lot of work here in Niles with local businesses, and I do run into sometimes that whole attitude of, well, no one wants to work anymore kind of thing. And I had to push back on a little bit. Well, no, it's people want to work. They just don't want to be taken advantage of. So, there's a difference. So,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you grow up around Nashville then, or where'd you come up?
I didn't. I kind of moved around a lot. We moved around a fair bit as a kid. As my dad worked for IBM and would move anytime he had a new customer that he worked with. So
right.
I was born in Kentucky and still kind of identify as like a Kentuckian.
Okay, all right.
Like both my parents are big UK fans, so that's like huge part of my childhood. And we lived in upstate New York for a couple years. We lived in Oklahoma for quite a while. And I went to high school in Ohio. So that's kind of where all of that happened.
All right. Wow, just bouncing around. And
Yeah.
So the idea to get into music, that was yours, but that wasn't someone approached you, you're just like, that seems cool. I mean, what was it that got you that direction? Were you watching, I don't know, MTV? Was MTV even still doing music at that time?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I was looking at TRL.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was partly that I wanted a home, if that makes sense. Like I wanted a kind of hobby that felt like it was me, like it fit me perfectly, like it was going to be my passion. And I had tried up to that point when I was about 10 or 12 or so, I had tried tons of sports, and it just was kind of hopeless at most of them. Just like didn't really feel like this is me, I wanted to find that thing where it was like this clicks and I fit here. And trying that out, I just was immediately like, this is so fun. This feels good to play this. And I loved like going on the internet and looking up tabs for things.
Sure.
That was kind of new. And
Yep. I remember those days.
I
Yep.
was learning how to do that. And I loved that and just felt a lot of agency, I think, in being able to pick up the guitar, play these songs and make music for people. I loved playing around the house too. My family loved hearing music. I have very fond memories of practicing with my dog, sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
He loved to just lay there and listen. Yeah, it was just so cool.
You sadly, during many of these interviews, my dog Alice is here with us, but she's not here today. She's off doing her own thing today.
Oh, well.
But maybe next time we have you on the show, she'll be here hanging out.
Yeah,
So yeah, she's great. She basically gets all freaked out when people get here, wants all the love, and then she just plops down there, and people forget that she's even there. She just passes right out. So
Well, that's good for recording.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did. I don't know if you know who Roger Klein and the Peacemakers are.
No.
Or they were formerly known as the Refreshments, but so I've been following them since I was 14 years old, and I'm 42 now. And I actually had him on this show some number of years ago, and the second time he was on, it was a phone interview. And I'm sitting here at that time, we were still operating out of a room in the house, and I'm sitting here and I'm nervous, even though I'd interviewed him once before. It's this guy I've been following forever, so I'm trying not to fanboy too much. And my dog just runs in the room and just starts barking like crazy as we're recording. But it turns out Roger loves dogs. He thought it was hilarious. Aww. We started bonding about dogs and it all worked out. So,
That's so sweet. What kind of dog is Alice?
She is a golden doodle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
She is. She looks much more like a golden retriever. In fact, there's art. Oh, right there somewhere with her on it. My friend
I see.
Joe Humphrey did that for us 1 year. But yeah, she's the best. Dogs are the best. So yeah. So what about songwriting? When did you start diving into the world of songwriting?
I did try songwriting as a kid, as you might imagine.
Sure.
With heroes like Jewel and Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody writes songs. I must do that too.
Yeah.
And I think it was valuable experience, and sometimes I still have some of those old notebooks. Sometimes I like to kind of look back and see how far I've come. Yeah. I've come a long way.
Do you ever find anything in there that you're like, we could actually maybe use that?
I always hope that I will.
Yeah.
I always look back at those anytime that I do. And I'm like, I'm hoping to find a nugget, a really cool thing I said when I was 15 that's going to be just the perfect new song. But I don't think that I ever found something.
Yeah.
It was like that. But so I did that as a kid, and in high school I got really into musical theater. I sort of like, I've gone a lot of paths with figuring out how exactly I want music to figure into my life. So for a long time, musical theater was kind of the dream, and I majored in it in college and moved to New York just after graduating and did the auditioning and did all that stuff. And for most of that time, I didn't really write anymore. I kind of set that aside. But I came back to it while I was living in New York and really dissatisfied with the life of being an actor. It's not fun. It's not for me, I'll say.
So did you find success there? I mean, even if it wasn't for you, did you find that you were getting shows and, you know?
I booked a couple of things.
Okay.
I did not book a lot of stuff.
All right.
But I booked a few things. I booked a couple of things that, which I really like to do. I booked a couple of like new shows that were doing like readings or stage, like stripped down readings of the shows. And so that's really cool. So I worked with a lot of writers. I worked with a lot of like musical theater writers.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was kind of inspiring me to get back into writing and see what I could make. Cause I felt like I had things that I wanted to talk about and wanted to say with my writing. And so, yeah, I got into it. My first ever show was at Rockwood Music Hall in New York, and I only had like 4 songs that I had written. So I did a double bill with a friend of mine named Andy Al-Hadaf, who's a brilliant singer-songwriter as well. And that was my first ever show. I just sang like maybe 3 or 4 songs that I had written, and I was absolutely hooked. That was the first time that I'd ever performed a song that I had written in front of people.
Nice.
It was so cool.
It makes sense now that you mention it. You can almost see in your stage presence and in your songwriting a little bit of that music theater, actually. You know, that
so.
fits. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Music theater writing is very much about like narrative and character. And I like to think a lot about, usually in my songs, I'm not a character. I'm usually me.
Sure.
But I definitely think a lot about how narratively a song unfolds. And I think I get that from musical theater.
Nice. Well, it definitely works for you. So, you mentioned TRL. So what were you watching? What were your go-to videos on TRL?
Oh my gosh. I really kind of like came of age or like, was a young teen when like Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were happening.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it was a huge. I loved TLC. I loved Britney. I was more of a Backstreet Boys girl than an NSYNC fan, and it's clear. It's clear now which was the better way to go, I think. But yeah, loved them. So that was kind of like a lot of those videos were like some of my earliest memories of like watching TRL and seeing those.
Sure,
things pop
yeah.
up.
I mean, that was almost inescapable. I mean, I was in that era. I was more in the like alternative rock, era. But I still had on TRL every day after school, and so I'm definitely watching all the pop hits and Jewel and yeah.
Loved her.
Were there any? So your parents didn't play music, but were they influential at all in your taste in music? Were they playing things around the house?
Oh yeah, they loved listening to music, and I think almost every night when we had dinners, we had like dinner as a family most nights.
Yeah,
and they loved to just like play some CDs, and they're super into musicals. That's kind of also where I get it. So
nice.
We would listen to like Phantom or Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Nice. All right. Classics.
As we're eating. But also my dad's a really big country fan. I remember Alison Krauss got some heavy rotation as we were eating dinner. And,
all right.
So big fans of that sort of thing too.
What's your favorite musical?
That's so hard. Okay, I think
All
I
right,
have
you
two.
can do 2. Yeah, it's fine. We'll allow it.
The sort of more classic one that I like is it's called She Loves Me. It's a Bach and Harnick musical.
Okay, all right.
That is on theme. It's this really sweet love story. It's based on a play that the movie You've Got Mail was also based on. So The Shop Around the Corner.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's that story essentially,
Okay.
but it's a little different. It takes place in like a perfume shop and their rival salesman.
There was no email in the original movie, as I recall.
No email. But they're writing letters to like the paper. They're like writing what did you call them? Like in the classifieds, we're like looking for love.
Sure, yeah.
So they wrote letters and found each other that way and are writing to each other. It's so sweet. It's a beautiful musical. But then my other favorite is probably Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, that's one of mine. Yes,
It's so funny. It's so smart. I love the kind of like, I'm a big sci-fi person. I love the sort of like sci-fi send up that it is. Love that one.
There's growing up in this area, we're sort of in this weird vacuum of media. So we're too far south in Michigan to really receive, especially back in the days of antennas, if you didn't have cable, to receive, Michigan based media. So you're getting a lot of stuff from across the border in Indiana, and then also even Chicago. And so there's this station at Chicago, WGN, that if you were lucky, you could kind of get the rabbit ears to pull it in. And every Saturday they would do these afternoon matinee like double features. And I thought I hated musicals as a kid. I love it now, but my sister would play Sound of Music constantly, and I just hated it. But one day I'm sitting there watching WG, and I remember because the first movie was one they played almost every Saturday, Lost Boys.
Great one.
Yeah, and then the next one was Little Shop of Horrors with the Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, this is a musical? This is fantastic, And I've loved him ever since. So
That movie's brilliant.
it's so good. Yeah, it's so good. I would watch that anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime, yeah. Yeah. There were a lot of good finds on the WGN afternoons, You never know what you're going to get. You might get a little Stallone and Over the Top, There was some Sandlot going on. There was a lot of fun stuff there. Yeah, yep. So, okay. All right. So I knew that the You've Got Mail was based on an older movie. I didn't realize it actually was originated in a musical, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a play.
or play, okay.
I think. And then there was an earlier movie called The Shop Around the Corner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think all of that is based on this play, but I'm not sure about that.
That's awesome. So the reason why you ended up in Three Oaks at the Acorn, one of my favorite venues, shout out to Nikki and the crew over there, you were a part of this singer-songwriter contest. Now, this is, for those that don't know, the Acorn's been doing for years now, the singer-songwriter contest, and they've pulled in amazing talent and really, highlighted some awesome stuff. Originally locally, but it's grown so much since then. So how did you... you're up in Ann Arbor, right? So how did you connect with this singer-songwriter contest in little old Three Oaks, Michigan,
Ever since I've moved up here, and definitely since the pandemic has kind of waned and things have opened up and we've been able to perform more, I was doing lots of searches for festivals and songwriting competitions and things that are in this area. Because I've never lived up here before. I've never toured up here before living up here. So making this big move obviously meant going back to school and kind of focusing on that more. But it also meant this is a whole new place where nobody knows me, nobody knows my music, and I've got to do some work to get out there.
Sure, yeah.
So that's basically how I found it. I was like doing searches for Michigan open mics, Michigan festivals, Michigan songwriter contests, and it was just perfect. It's not too far from Ann Arbor down here.
Yeah.
A couple hours, 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, and also my understanding is as that contest has gone on over the years, it really has expanded out. Like the word about it has spread. They're bringing in people from out of state on the regular. So
the winner this year was from Texas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also goes to show how good they are with their booking, because the artists they bring in from all over. I remember right around when I saw you play there, it was either before or after I had seen Steve Earle play.
Yeah,
And,
amazing.
yeah, and acts like that. And, talking about music from the 90s, I mean, Cracker, they're regulars there. They play there
Really?
like once a year, I think. So,
Cool.
yeah. So, in fact, Johnny Hickman from Cracker was on this show years ago when we first started because he was playing out at the Acorn with the band. So,
awesome.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, what was that contest experience like for you?
It was cool. I've done a few of those singer-songwriter contests. And, you go into them, the best way to go into them is not expecting anything, basically. Yeah. Because, on any given day, any set of judges could name any one of those people the winner. There was a group of really, really talented songwriters who were all really different.
Yeah.
So I always just kind of go into those things thinking, I hope that my music connects. I hope they like me. I hope that I meet some cool people, which is exactly what happened. I met some really awesome singer-songwriters that day and made this great connection with the Acorn, which is a venue that I absolutely love. So, yeah, that's a win to me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the sort of the stew they create because, as we were discussing prior to starting, one of the judges for yours was Abby Thomas, who had previously been a contestant.
Right.
And so it's so cool that, she's doing such amazing things. Former guest of the show. She was on a little while back. But, she's doing such amazing things now. And to see her, she was in your position and then now she's in the position of a judge. I mean, I'm sure you'll be a judge someday, and then you're going to be doing more shows like tonight at the Acorn. So it's just such a cool way of getting people connected and finding new musicians and building those relationships, Yeah. Did you did you make any potential collaboration contacts while you were in there or?
I have talked with some people about you're from here and I'm in Michigan and let's kind of collaborate on a tour. Let's
for sure. Yeah.
I'll play where you are and you come up and you play in Ann Arbor and I'll get us a show.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've chatted with anybody who we want to musically collaborate with, but I will say that the winner, Andrew Delaney, is somebody that I knew from way back, another songwriting competition.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, he
That's
and I
awesome.
both did the Kerrville songwriting competition. Gosh, I think it would have been 2017. It was years ago.
Okay.
So I hadn't seen him in a long time, and that's kind of what happens at those things. Sometimes you just there's people who are kind of on that circuit or who are interested in doing that, and you reconnect, and it's really neat.
I mean, I don't think people realize, but that really is kind of a small community.
It is.
I mean, there's if the level of musician that, a lot of these people are at, you guys know each other from the contest and similar venues and that kind of a thing, and
Folk Alliance and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it's awesome to see. I love the collaboration aspect of it because there are so many things in life where we have this this kind of illusion of scarcity, and I think art is one of those places where it can really be kind of a thing where people can potentially get very against each other because it's well, I need my piece of the pie. And it seems like, again, this might be another generational thing, but I think those days aren't what they used to be, because I know, especially in our local scene here, we call this area Michiana, because again, we're kind of both Indiana and Michigan, we're kind of all one unified thing here. And so much of the local scene is really all about everyone encouraging each other and pushing each other and making opportunities for each other. There's very little infighting or competition or anything like that. It's no, together we rise. And, so when you've been out there doing your thing, have you run into that experience at all as far as, that collaborative effort? Yeah,
absolutely. I'll say that's one of the things that I really loved about living in Nashville, and part of why I lived there so long is that despite it being an industry town, and it is sort of cutthroat in certain areas, not sort of, definitely. But I think the little pockets that I found myself in of folk singer songwriter / indie rock type folks. There was this feeling of we are all in this together. We support each other. We all improve. A rising tide raises all boats. Yeah. So it felt like a really great community to be in there, that everybody was kind of rooting for each other. We would do shows together and tour together and things like that. So yeah, I love that spirit. And I do think that might be happening more and more places, which is cool.
I see it even in, in business. Again, with my work that I do here in Niles, there's so much more of, restaurants who could be considered competition, but really finding ways to collaborate. It's like, oh, well, you enjoyed your meal here, but you should go check out the pizza place across the street next time, or that kind of a thing. There's so much more of that now. And I think it helps everybody, honestly, because you don't want to be the only storefront on the street. You want to be a storefront on a vibrant street full of other storefronts,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that applies to life in general, but I don't know, maybe it's also just a Midwestern thing. I don't know. So what are you thinking of music? You've been here, or music of Michigan. You've been here a few years now. I mean, what are you enjoying about the state?
I like it. I think it felt very different than Nashville coming up here. I think there's a lot going on in Ann Arbor. I think there's some great music. The Arc is such a great venue.
Yeah, I love the Arc, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. The Blind Pig is also really great. That's kind of like the local rock venue, and that's where I've played most of my shows there. And especially in kind of like the community that I found at school, there's lots of great musicians in my program and in the school at UMich. And so I've made some really great friendships and connections with that, which is amazing. I'm not a huge fan of the weather. Pretty cold up here. There's a reason I kind of like went down south after living in New York.
Sure. Hey, let me tell you, you've gotten real lucky as far as winters go. If you've only been here, 3 years? Because,
right.
Oh man, this is nothing compared to what we used to have. Climate change has definitely changed the dynamic. And normally right now it's February. I was outside in a t-shirt earlier.
Oh, I know. It feels silly to complain about the weather today.
Yeah.
It's like 60 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous today. But yeah, some of the winters have been like tough for me.
Sure. Yeah.
They just last so long. They don't end until like May.
Oh, it's just so. I'm going to an event next weekend that happens annually about this time of year, and its intent is kind of to address that whole thing. It's up in the Upper Peninsula, and it's this gathering of people, and it's just kind of this very communal musical experience to like get people out of the house, because normally we're all so depressed, and I mean we've had some really nice sunny weather lately, but normally it's just dreary and depressing. So yeah.
I love that. That's great. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's called Thunder Snow. So if you're ever interested, I'll get you some details on it. It's a very, very fun event for musicians. So
cool.
Yeah. Any other? So you named the two big spots in Ann Arbor. Are there any like hidden gems in Ann Arbor? Whether music venue or even just I don't know, good restaurants or good bars. I like to eat, so I get up there every so often.
There's lots of good restaurants in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
There's one that I've really loved called Pacific Rim. That's like an Asian fusion kind of place, and oh my gosh, it's so good. There's also Taste Kitchen, which is like absolutely delicious. Again, kind of fusion food. I think they're like Vietnamese with like New American.
Oh man, okay.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Really, really good. There's also Frida Batida, where like everybody needs to go when you come to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, okay.
It's a Cuban place that serves basically just burgers and shakes.
Okay.
And man, it's so good. So yeah, there's tons. There's like a lot of great food in Ann Arbor. And yeah, in terms of like other venues, I'm trying to think. Well, not a venue, but a really great local music store where I have kind of like found a home.
Yeah.
It's called Oz's Music.
Okay.
They do lessons and summer camps for kids. And so I've been involved in some of that and some teaching and doing summer camps, like rock camps. And man, it's so fun. Steve Osborne is the guy who owns it with his wife, Leslie. And they are local gems. They're much beloved, and it's such a great like community space.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's very cool. What about, have you found any favorite artists in Michigan music that you just, as a listener, you love?
Yeah, Ani Mari is really great.
Okay, I don't know them.
She and I met, I guess, like it would have been like only a couple months after I moved to Michigan. I was doing the open mic at the Arc, and she played, and I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. She's so young too. I think she was a freshman at the time.
Oh, wow.
At
Really?
University of Michigan. So we were both really new. And,
Yeah.
but she's from the UP, so she's a Michigander.
Okay.
And she's been performing all over as part of a duo called Ani and Cora. But has this solo project that she's been working on since she was a freshman. So about 3 years now, I guess. And incredible songwriter. Really, really talented.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, she's great.
Very cool. So, so what is next for you? You know, you're down here doing this show, but we have any recordings on the horizon, some touring? What's going on?
That's a very good question. Right now, like, you know, right this second and this semester, I have like big exams coming up as part of my PhD. They're called special fields.
Yeah.
So I am like prepping like crazy for
Sure.
those. So that's kind of like the thing that is taking up most of my brain space these days.
Understandable. Yep.
Yeah. And then I write the dissertation, which will be a whole other big project.
Yeah.
But I have been getting more into, my dissertation is going to be on like digital technology and especially like voices, how we use vocal effects and vocal processing to create artistic identities and represent ourselves in kind of surprising ways.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think of technology as kind of like a distancing thing where, you know, if you can hear too much auto-tune or you can hear too much whatever, it sounds a little robotic. It sounds not as human as we'd maybe like or are interested in.
Yeah.
But I think people use it in really surprising ways that can actually communicate like deep emotion, humanity, identity, self. I think it's really interesting. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And in the process of studying that and learning lots about that, I've also been learning a lot about how to produce my own music and,
nice.
and
Okay.
how to use that tech. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on is like learning Ableton and
Nice.
learning vocal processing and how to do all that. So I'm hoping that the next recording that comes out is going to be self-produced,
That's
self-engineered.
great.
That's the goal.
We thinking just single or a whole album or just an EP or
I
what we?
think probably an EP, and
Okay.
I'm not sure when that might happen.
Okay.
But I've definitely been writing. I've been working on some new tunes, and yeah, I'm hoping in the next couple of years, while the dissertation is happening, that also some music can happen. That'd be really nice.
So you are an active musician. You are a student going for your PhD, and you're a teacher.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do to relax?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I wish I could say that like practicing music and songwriting was like what I do to relax. It is.
Sure.
I find it really restorative sometimes, but also it is like work. So it's it's not necessarily what I do to relax.
Yeah, and you have to find a way to refill that bucket every once in a while. You know, you can't just keep taking out of it. So,
Yeah. But you know, I my partner and I like to play video games.
What's your favorite game at the moment? Yeah.
I just finished the Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, I've heard it's so good.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I loved it, getting able to do all the spells and stuff. And I'm a big fan of kind of like open world stuff, exploring big open worlds. And
Sure.
So that was a really good one for me.
Nice. That's awesome. So you got, I mean, you're not tied up, but you kind of have a plan for the next couple of years, but what's the not the end goal, but what's the next thing once you've got your PhD? I mean, what do you see, like, you know, musician Kelly Hoppenjans, what are you doing at that point with all of that? You know, are you still teaching? I mean, what's the mash of all that together?
My ideal, what I've been working towards for like all of the, you know, being in Nashville and working at Belmont and touring at the same time and all that stuff. What I would love to have happen is to get a professor position that also allows me to perform.
Nice. Okay.
I'd love to have that. So where I can teach a couple of classes, still do research and still publish articles and books on things I think are worth talking about in music. But also I'd love to continue this practice of being a performer and writing songs and recording them and sharing them. I just find it really rewarding. So hopefully I will find a position where I can find that balance.
And do you see, so the study you're doing with the digital music and all that, do you see that applying, in all of that you're doing, either creatively or just what you do, teaching wise or otherwise? Are you going to do more with that work? Okay.
I love thinking about it in teaching because I think this kind of digital turn or this digital revolution in music has done a lot of really cool things for accessibility of music. It's meant that anybody who has GarageBand on their phone can record something, and make it sound pretty good. Yeah. Maybe even great sometimes. Yeah. It's informed my teaching a ton because it makes me think about people who may have never thought that they could be musicians, can't sing a note, can't play guitar, or can't do any of that stuff, or never learned how to do that. Mm-hmm. It gives them something. It gives them a way in. It gives them something to say, like, you can do this. Sure. So I love that about it. Yeah. It definitely informs my my writing and my own music too. I think I've had a fair amount of recording experience in Nashville. I've recorded, what is it now? Like 3 EPs and a full-length album down there. Nice. So lots of experience in studios and also as a like studio singer, background singer for other people's work. I've done some of that. So lots of experience in that. And it always seemed to me when I would go in there that they like the engineer or the producer was operating like a spaceship. Yeah. Like it's just like, it's so huge and there's so many things and they seem to know exactly what buttons to push at the right time to make it sound the way you want it to sound. And it just seemed like knowledge that I would never have. Yeah. It just seemed like something that was out of my ability to ever do. Yeah. But it's not true. It's a skill that anybody can learn and you can do it with stuff that's available on your phone and your laptop. And so I love it. It's crazy. I mean, you look at what we have now. I mean, I can think of my original setup and it was much more complicated than this right here. But I think you also have a good point when it comes to the technology because, I get all the threats and everyone's worried about this and that as far as like, is that truly art or whatever? But, we weren't born with guitars attached to us. We built those. That is technology. That's right. And it's just a matter of how you use those tools as a channel for your creativity, Yeah, that's absolutely right. I've been working lately on a paper. I think what everyone's going to be thinking and talking about for the next 5 years at least is AI in music. And I've been working on a paper on this Grimes AI vocal simulator. Have you heard of this? I have not. Very interesting. So, there's lots of kind of like deep fake vocals where people will like use AI and make a new Drake track that Drake never sang on and things like that. Yeah. Grimes made her own, made a vocal double of her voice and has made it available to anybody. It's on a website. We could look it up right now and sing into it. Yeah, it's very easy to use. Yeah. So I wanted to, I'm still in the process of researching this, but I wanted to take a look at this from the perspective of the singers who sing into it and look at whether they can still hear themselves in this transformed vocal. Can they still hear aspects of their voice when it's transformed into Grimes? Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's been awesome so far. That's awesome. Okay. So I can sing my own Grimes song now. You sure can. Awesome. That's the idea. Grimes is really hoping that lots and lots of people do that, I think. And then is there an intended, is it just here play with this or is Grimes going to take these and do something with them eventually? What she is doing with them now, I don't know if she has other plans than this, but now what she's saying is she's kind of thinking of it as like, this is a way to collaborate with her and say that Grimes is a featured artist on my track as a producer. So what she does is what she says she does with every collaborator is she splits the royalties 50-50.
Nice.
So she's saying, whatever you make on this, if it's successful, just give me 50% and we're solid. So that's kind of what she wants to do with it.
That's great. And that's so simple. I mean, as someone who's navigated the world of licensing in the internet age, it's so difficult to get through there. And I love it when someone is just like, no, let's just cut out all the garbage and like you and I, what's fair, done, boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, cool. All right. So what have we missed? Anything else that is going on in your world, musically or otherwise?
I'm trying to think here. I mean, I'm in very much like a writing and practicing my production phase right now, in an ideation phase. I've been working a lot more with my partner, who's a drummer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We've been collaborating a lot and working together on some songs and some tracks, and we have a show coming up in July at the Acorn, so we'll be back.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
And,
okay.
that'll be a full band show, so he and I will do that, and we'll have a bassist, I think, joining us, but we'll also have some like tracks that we're going to use to like get into that, kind of to introduce some of that production element into the live version of our show. So we're really excited about that.
That'll be a ton of fun. Yeah, I'll make sure to get that on the calendar and toss it in the show notes for this.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So is that the next time you're coming to the area then?
That
July?
is the next time, yeah.
It's actually not that far away. It's
I know.
kind of crazy. So time's flying. Well, cool. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and we will throw your website and all the links in the show notes so people can check out what you're doing.
Great.
We get listeners all over the place, but definitely when you come back here, we'll plug what you're doing as well, so we can get some people out there to see you.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thanks, Justin.
You have been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops, a product of Red Chuck Productions. Be sure to keep tabs on everything going on with this show and everything else Red Chuck over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us at Red Chuck Productions on social media. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out, listen to their songs, and see where they're going to be over at herojrmusic.com. That's HEROJRMUSIC.com. Also, special thanks to Paul Clemson, our sound engineer and producer. And while you're at it, make sure you visit the websites and band camps and shows of all of our guests. If you want local music, if you want independent music, or any kind of art, you've got to support them. So give musicians and artists your money. We will see you at the next episode. Until then, here's to life.
'Cause would I